Okay, so I'm going to just throw out something, but we're not going to consume too much time with it because we have a long agenda today with many items to discuss. I'll be interviewing, hopefully, there's always last minute changes. As part of the podcast, I will be interviewing Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West, on September 18th. And I try in these sorts of endeavors to do my homework. And that means I've been deeply immersed in Dr. West's writings. And I have to say, it's been a very humbling experience because his mental range is really quite dazzling. It's just a fact. And you can't get around it. In fact, I was going to email Deborah McAbee, the person I was referring to earlier. I was going to email her some of what he had to write about T.S. Eliot. Because I was just curious, does he get all of this right?
I'd like to read that. Yes.
Yeah, the degree of erudition, the knowledge of the primary, the secondary literature, it's really very impressive. And so it's been a very, as I said, humbling experience sitting down and reading through it. I'm not nearly at the point I want to be, and I hope I'll get through most of it before September 18th. In any case, I bring it up because in the last week, there has been a whole lot of criticism of Dr. West by some precincts in the left. People who I, speaking candidly, I don't have a high regard for. However, it indicates something blowing in the air, which kind of depresses me. So let me just cut to the chase, make a few comments, and then hear you out. And remember, nobody has a monopoly on truth. So I'm happy to hear people disagree. I don't understand at all, and I mean this in the most literal sense. I do not understand the criticism of Cornel West running on the third party as of now. And I have to emphasize, as of now. The election is a year off. There is plenty of time for Dr. West to say to his supporters, assessing how far I've gotten, bearing in mind and weighing the dangers posed by a Donald Trump victory, and this factor and that factor, weighing them. At this point, he could say as late as October 2024, he can say, I've decided to throw my support behind Joe Biden, and I would urge my supporters to do so as well. But why in God's name would you oppose him running as of now? 70% of Americans polled say they do not want another Trump-Biden presidential election. That means at least 70% of the American electorate are ready for an alternative. I don't know how Cornel, I prefer to say Dr. West because I feel he earned it. I don't know how Dr. West is going to fare in the next year. Nobody knows. I remember in 2016, when Bernie Sanders started his campaign, he expected like 10 or 20 people at rallies. You will recall he repeatedly said, I was shocked by the turnout, by the reaction. Nobody knows how Cornel West's campaign is going to fare in the next year. What we know for sure is, one, there is a very alienated electorate which doesn't want another gerontocratic election between two very old and one mentally incompetent and the other certainly giving signs of crookedness. Is there something wrong with our video?
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, let's just wait one moment.
I do not know.
Okay, now we're back. Okay, so we know that for sure. We also know Cornel West is almost exactly my age. In fact, we attended graduate school at the same time. He's been a person on the scene for 50 years. And according to one statement of his, and he is not at all given to exaggeration, so I have to take it at face value, he said that for a long period of time, he was giving 150 lectures a year around the country and around the world. That means a huge number of connections. And he didn't speak necessarily to elite audiences. No, he spoke to churches, he spoke to grassroots organizations. But that means he has the potential of quite rapidly creating what's called the ground operation, namely people prepared to work for him full-time, overtime, as they did with Bernie. So there are real possibilities there. And for the life of me, I can't understand why people are now, a year away from the election, already calling him a spoiler, already saying that a third party can't get more than 5% of the vote, already saying that no third party candidate has ever won a single electoral vote in recent history, and saying that without rank, what's the expression, rank voting?
Rank choice.
Rank choice voting, it's a waste of time. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how anybody knows what's going to happen. But we know there is fertile soil out there for a third party. We know that Cornel West is a known quantity. So I don't understand what's happening here. Most of you are too young to remember, but in the United States, it was always a given that during any presidential election, the Communist Party, the Socialist Party, they would run candidates. That was a given. You used the platform, what was called race consciousness. You used the electoral cycle as an opportunity to bring your party's message to the public square. And the Communist Party always ran candidates and always quietly told their members, come election day, vote Democratic. That was the message. Come election day, vote Democratic. However, we use the the platform availed us by the presidential election cycle to raise, quote unquote, consciousness. Maybe that's not the greatest expression, but that was the expression of the day, to raise consciousness. And now to say we have to abandon that opportunity to, quote, raise consciousness and not even run a candidate? There's plenty of time till November to decide what to do. But right now, you're supposed to be using the opportunity to reach people